So many of you have known me for a long time. Yeah, just sit here. Okay, great, thank you. Many of you have known me for a long time, and you know that classical is my favorite kind of music. And it still is, and I play, you've heard it, the romantic, the classicals, you know, the Baroque kinds of stuff. But something happened to me in December when I came here to buy music for Federation. I came into this store, which I love, and right in front of me is a cardboard partition thing, and it said free music for the taking, something to that effect. Free music, well, so, you know, music teachers always say, you've got to look at that stuff. So I went in, and I recognized many of the books. I had some of those books, I had some of that music, but something just popped out at me. This book. And I was not prepared to when I opened it up because the title of said book is Boogie Woogie for Good Players by Bernard Whitefield. I don't know Bernard Whitefield. I had never heard of Bernard Whitefield. So I'm standing in the music store. It's quite cold outside. I can feel my feet are cold, but I open this thing up. And it is the best jazz ever. And it is so hard. It is hard. I've had to work really hard. So Mr. Whitefield, I did make some notes so I wouldn't say something wrong about him. He was born in 1910. He was an African-American composer, pianist, teacher. He loved boogie woogies. And he had tremendous, and you're going to hear this in the piece that I play, he loved the beat of the rhythm and the tremendous, what he called tremendous driving force. I'm taking what he said in there onto my paper. What was fun about this music was that, as jazz is, and for those of you who know jazz, there is a pattern that helps jazz performers make good jazz. And that is that the patterns are, you could probably help me, Fred, 4 measures on the tonic, on the 1 beat, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't need to know. Then the 5th measure is 2 or 4 measures on the 4 chord, you go back to the 1 chord, then you play a couple of measures of the 5 chord, you may go back to the 4 chord, but you go back to 1 chord. And it's that pattern, it's quite simple. But you know what jazz sounds like. It is so imaginative and creative and fun, and everybody does it differently using that pattern. So wait till you hear what Bernard did. All right, so he did a lot of improv, and he based it in he called it predictable and great sounding pattern. That's what he called it. Lots of short rhythmic bass patterns, which are in here, always the same chords like I told you. There will be dissonance, and you're going to say, did she goof? And you know what, I probably did. But it will have a C sharp in one hand, it will have a B in another, and another voice of a B flat, so it's like
Prickly.
chunk. And it's written, it's that way, and then it resolves. So for this moment you go, oh dear, is that wrong? I did it wrong, oh it's terrible. And then you look at it and you say, no, that's what it is. And then it resolves 2 seconds later. It's just really cool. Oh, and then something very funny, for those of you who know me well enough, how I teach about the ugly orange chair and the importance of opposites in music, contrasts, of course, and you kids are all going, ugh. Louds and softs and fasts and slows and legato, staccato, yeah, it makes a difference. This is what, remember now this man knows jazz in and out and he loves jazz, performs it well, teaches it well. This is what he writes about dynamics, and I'll stop talking. The range of dynamics for boogie woogie as a whole is as broad as that of any other musical style. But, big words, within the confines of each piece is a limited, there's just not too much variation of loudness and softness. There are 2 good reasons for this. One, the melodic line of boogie woogie is not the smooth singing line of other kinds of music, he's referring to romantic and classical and all that, and does not require as much attention to nuance. 2, and this is what I grinned at and told Jerry last night, I have to read this. 2 great, T-O-O, 2 great arranger dynamics would tend to throw the rhythm into the background, and this would be fatal in boogie woogie. So he writes 3 pages, it's in his, I'll leave it up here if you want to come and see. This was published in 41 or something, it's all yellowed inside, but the original paper clips, I've learned so much from playing this book, and I'm still learning. So that's the number one of my set. All right, the second one was by Jelly Roll Morton, who was born in 1890 in New Orleans. He died in 1941. He was pretty well known. He was a ragtime jazz pianist composer. He had an RCA Victor record label, but he struggled financially and also relationally because he was a gambler, he was a vaudeville actor, and he probably wasn't trusted, but they never say that exactly. But his jazz is really fun, right, Kathleen? It's fun to play. So he wrote a very popular one called King Porter's Stomp in 1935, and it became Benny Goodman's first hit, but Jelly Roll received no royalties, poor guy. Speculation of whether he actually wrote it or not, we don't know. He created his own kind of jazz, loved boogie woogie, and followed the same pattern of jazz like everybody else did. So in that one, I'm going to be playing Sidewalk Blues. Then I'll be playing New Orleans Blues by Mr. Willem Gillock. He was born in New Orleans too, and he was born in 1927, died in 93, learned piano at a young age, a music educator, adjudicator, prolific composer. And this is what, whatever I was reading said about him. Even the earliest of his compositions show a rare inventiveness and originality of harmony and texture, as well as the Gillock trademark, which is melodic beauty. So think about that. He's a jazz writer, and he has melodic beauty. I love this. He's called the Schubert of children's composers in tribute to his melodic gift, and he composed numerous solos for students of all levels and ensemble music for students and their teachers to play together. He summed up his guiding compositional principle by saying, melody and rhythmic vitality are essential to compositions that students want to learn. And that is very true, because I didn't know about this man until 15 years ago when I moved here, and I joined the Federation clubs, and his name, he's in all of the repertoire lists. I mean, he always has a song or 5 or 10 in the list of things to choose. And when I started looking and reading his material and playing it, I was really moved and touched, and you laugh at the same time, so it's really quite fun. So, you are guinea pigs to a medley that I put together of blues, boogie blues, sidewalk blues, New Orleans blues, by those men that I just talked about.